new Taylor Legacy Series.
New guitars with throwback specs. Hey guys, Scott and Taylor here, Edmond Music.
I'm Scott, that's Taylor.
Today we're talking about Taylor Guitars' new Legacy Series. Before we get into it, feel free to hit that like and subscribe button.
Absolutely. So, this new Legacy Series, it's been exciting for me because Taylor has a pretty big history. You know, Bob Taylor started the company in 1974, and lo and behold, I was born in 1974, so I kind of have a nice little 50-year corration there. So,
it was also Edmond Music's 50th anniversary last year, too.
It was a big 50 year.
Last year was a big year.
Yeah.
But this series was something they've been talking about for a while, and super exciting to me personally, because I like anything old school. If you say, hey, this is the way we used to do it, but we don't do it anymore, automatically that's more exciting to me.
Taylor's kind of in a unique position because in the grand scheme of things, a 50-year-old guitar company, that sounds like an old company, but Martin's been around since 1833, Gibson since late 1800s, 1880, somewhere in there. So they have so much history to lean back on. Taylor's the new kid on the block. They can constantly be trying to reinvent the wheel. So they started out doing, the classic vintage ways with X bracing, dovetail neck joints, playing around with that, and kind of have developed into what they are. But the whole idea of this Legacy Series is, where did we get our start? So.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Scott said, it's kind of new for them because they are a company that is always about the next innovation. Taylor's like, what can we do better? What can we change? What can we do more efficient? Whether it's the NT neck joint or whether it's coming up with their own electronic system and the different iterations they've had of the expression system.
As far as I know, they're the only company that's doing their own electronic system in-house.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. But this is them, for the first time, kind of going back and saying, okay, let's do, because, Fender and Gibson and Martin, all these companies, they do vintage reissues. But this is the first time Taylor has gone back and said, okay, let's bring something back that we don't do this way anymore. Mm-hmm. So the two guitars we have today to talk about are both grand auditoriums.
The grand auditorium is honestly their best-selling shape. It's what Taylor is known for. It's what put them on the map. They, over the years, have used dreadnoughts, jumbos, lots of other body shapes. In fact, they've discontinued the dreadnought in the past few years. But with this Legacy Series, because it was part of their history, they've brought back a dreadnought for this series.
We did have an 810 that was one of the first 100 built, so it was hand-signed by Bob Taylor and Kurt Lustig. That was really cool to see, and kind of a cool piece of history. But speaking of pieces of history, let's talk about the 514 first.
Yeah, 514 is traditionally a cedar top guitar, mahogany back and sides. Cedar has a nice warmth to it. I was telling Taylor before we started shooting, there's a story of a famous 514 producer in LA that has a 514. He just bought off the shelf, and he's recorded a bunch of major hits on this one guitar. So Green Day, Good Riddance, Time of Your Life, that acoustic part is on that 514. The Goo Goo Dolls, Iris. Do you know any? I don't know how to play either one of those.
I was literally about to go.
There you go. That little intro,
really messes up.
So that's on a 514, but they call that guitar Excalibur. It's just a great tracking guitar, great recording guitar. The cedar has this nice warmth. The mahogany's a nice mid-range. But this harkens back to those early ones. Instead of doing the V-class bracing that Taylor is known for, they've gone back to an X-brace style, more kind of Martin tradition. And instead of doing the modern Taylor electronics, they've gone to an LR Bags. Is it the VTC?
VTC.
Yeah, VTC.
And that's across the board on the whole Legacy series. So like all of these guitars are going to feature the old style X bracing, the old voicing of a classic. Really, I think they're kind of shooting it because they go back to 74, of course, but I think what they're really shooting for with most of these is like kind of a golden period in a lot of people's eyes of like late 90s, early 2000s. So you're going to have NT neck joints on these as well. They're not going back to an old neck joint. You still have
that's
the
great because you'll
joint.
be able to actually redo the neck if you need to.
Yeah, for sure. So like, kind of shooting the early 2000s. If you walked into a store like Edmond Music and you were shopping for Taylors, these would be Taylors that you would see. The 514 there with the mahogany. And then this is the 714 with rosewood. Also with cedar. Yeah. Just a classic combination. Cedar and rosewood, very, very popular on classical guitars. That's the classic combination for a classical guitar is is cedar and rosewood. And again, it just adds that warmth, just kind of a silkiness that Sitka spruce or other varieties of spruce doesn't have. It's kind of mellower.
And another model they're doing in this series is the 12-string jumbo. There's the 858. So
with like the old style mustache bridge.
And a cool bit of history. I don't know if you knew this, but Neil Young used that early Taylor, from that era. So we call it the Neil Young 12 strings.
Yeah. Overall, like, we're big fans of this series here. I hope it's something that they actually continue to do in the future, and it's not just a limited run. I've been saying for a long time that, the innovations they've done with V-Class is very great, but sometimes people want a more classic sound, and the Legacy series gives them that, and I hope it's something that they continue to offer. I'm all for it. I'm a big fan of this series.
Absolutely. I mean, history is going to show us anything. The first ones went really quickly.
Yeah.
I think people were wanting these really bad. I think people like the idea of this throwback from Taylor. So, no, come get them while you can. They're great guitars.
Thanks, guys.